Have you ever noticed how the people who give you the least often demand the most? They hand you scraps of validation, and somehow you serve them a feast of your loyalty. They whisper what you want to hear, and without even realizing it, you start giving them your time, your energy, your mind. And you think it's kindness, you think it's love, but it's not. It's manipulation, subtle, strategic, deadly. There are people who don't need chains to keep you close. They only need your guilt, your fear, your silence. If you've ever felt torn between setting a boundary and feeling like a bad person, you've already been marked. You were trained, maybe since childhood, that putting yourself first is selfish, that love requires sacrifice, that saying no makes you cold. And the manipulator, they know that training better than you do. They don't come as villains. They come as protectors, supporters, helpers. They say they only want what's best for you, and then slowly they begin controlling your decisions, not with force, but with emotional fog, doubt, guilt. You're just overreacting. You're too sensitive. I was only trying to help. And just like that, they're steering your life from the passenger seat. Let's get real. Some of us carry invisible guilt like a second skin. We apologize for having boundaries. We shrink when we're supposed to speak. We give when we're already running on empty. We were told that being good means being small. And manipulators, they thrive on smallness. Then there are those who carry fear, so deep they don't even recognize it anymore. Fear of rejection, fear of abandonment, fear of being alone. So we cling to the relationship, the job, the approval, even when it's eating us alive. The manipulator senses that too. They say, without me, you'd fall apart. And part of you believes it, because your fear already told you the same lie. All of this, every pattern, every weak spot, it's not random, it's programmed. Childhood wounds, emotional blueprints, experiences that told you love comes with pain, that safety comes with compliance. Until you confront those wounds, they stay open. And manipulators know exactly where to touch. Machiavelli, yes, the guy who wrote the book on manipulation, understood this deeply. He didn't believe control came from force. He believed it came from understanding human weakness. His words were ice cold. It's easy to convince people of anything, but hard to keep them convinced. That's why the manipulator doesn't convince you. They become part of your emotional furniture. They move in where your awareness is missing. But here's the part they don't expect. You can wake up. You can stop being emotionally predictable. You can spot the game before it starts. And most of all, you can build psychological armor so sharp that no manipulation can pierce it. But let's be clear, this isn't about becoming cold. It's about becoming dangerously aware. You don't need to yell. You don't need to fight. You just need to stop playing the role they cast you in. The first step? Observation. Start with yourself. Ask, what patterns do I repeat? What triggers make me give in? Is it the fear of disappointing someone? The pressure to keep the peace? The anxiety of being disliked? Once you see the pattern, you're not trapped by it anymore. You become the one writing the script. Step 2, strategic detachment. Machiavelli would have called this emotional self-control. You don't lose empathy, you gain clarity. You start pausing, watching, not responding just because someone else is reacting. When they flatter you, you don't melt. When they guilt you, you don't bend. When they rush you, you slow down. Because manipulators need urgency. They need emotional chaos. They need you to feel, not think. So you flip the game. You think. Step 3, become unpredictable. Manipulators build their strategies on repetition. They learn your patterns, how you respond to tears, compliments, pressure. You want to break them? Break your own patterns first. Say no where you always said yes. Stay calm when they expect a fight. Disappear when they expect you to cling. They won't know what to do with you. Then there's identity. This is big. The less you know who you are, the easier it is for someone else to define you. They will mirror you, mold you, control you, until you forget what's yours and what's theirs. But the moment you anchor into your real identity, the game starts crumbling. When your inner clarity is strong, outer influence loses its power. Let's not romanticize this. This is not a cute self-help trick. This is training. Real emotional immunity is earned. It comes from watching yourself like a strategist, from resisting the reflex to please, from holding your ground even when the air gets thick with disapproval. And yes, people will react. They'll call you selfish, cold, changed. Let them. Because the ones who benefited from your lack of boundaries will always hate your clarity. Machiavelli once wrote, "Men must be either pampered or destroyed, for if merely offended, they will take revenge." It's brutal, but in the world of emotional power, it's true. There is no neutral ground in manipulation. Either you're in control of your mind or someone else is. But what if the manipulator isn't some distant figure? What if they're at home, at work, maybe even in your bed? What if the person who manipulates you is someone you love? That's where we're going next. And that part, that's going to ask more of you than any of this so far. Because loving someone doesn't mean letting them control your life. And setting boundaries doesn't mean abandoning love. It means protecting your soul. It's easy to talk about manipulation when the manipulator is a stranger. The real test begins when the one pulling your strings says they love you. A parent, a partner, a friend who's been there since the beginning. These people don't need to lie to control you. They just need to remind you of the bond. I'm doing this because I care. You're the only one who understands me. Without you, I'd fall apart. But if love comes with fear, pressure, or guilt, it's not love, it's leverage. In toxic closeness, control doesn't look like control. It looks like concern. It sounds like tradition. It hides behind loyalty. You can't do this to your mother. You owe me after everything I've done for you. Who else would even put up with you? So you walk on eggshells. You water yourself down. You become fluent in silence, just to keep the peace. And without realizing it, you become a hostage in an invisible prison, built not with bars, but with emotions. It's harder to see, harder to name, harder to leave. Because how do you walk away from a connection that feels like home, even if it burns every time you return? Let's be clear. Affection does not equal emotional safety. Proximity does not justify control. And just because someone loves you doesn't mean they know how to love you without breaking you. So what do? You start with boundaries, clean, quiet, non-negotiable. A firm no said once, without apology, is louder than 20 minutes of explanations. Then you expose the game, not to win an argument, but to remind yourself that you're no longer pretending. You say, I see what's happening. I won't play this role anymore. This is where my involvement ends. And when the backlash comes, and it will, you hold the line. There'll be silence, blame, drama. They'll test the fence to see if it's real. You don't flinch, because your job is not to manage their reaction. It's to honor your own reality. Now here's the hardest truth you'll face in this entire process. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is to leave them alone with their own behavior. To stop rescuing, stop explaining, stop softening your truth so they can stay comfortable. Because as long as you carry both your pain and theirs, They have no reason to change. But you start to disappear. That's the cost. And if you're not careful, you'll trade your identity for the illusion of harmony. You'll keep playing peacemaker until there's no one left inside you to protect. So you step back, not to punish them, but to rescue yourself. And that's when something remarkable happens. You stop being reactive. You stop chasing peace in chaos. You start seeing people for who they are, not who they say they are. You listen beneath their words. You watch patterns. You read between the gestures. You become unmanipulatable, not because you're invincible, but because you're aware. And awareness, in a world addicted to distraction, is a superpower. Now we bring in the mind of Machiavelli, not for coldness, but for clarity, because he never sugar-coated human nature. He looked at it without flinching. And in today's world, if you want to stay sane, you need to think like a strategist. Social media is manipulation. News is manipulation. Relationships, marketing, politics, every arena is a psychological game. Those who don't understand that get played daily. Machiavelli wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are." That's still true. Who controls the image, controls the influence. Who controls the narrative, controls the behavior. So start observing. Track what people do, not what they say. Notice the moments they switch the subject, the guilt trips dressed as concern, the sudden affection after you pull away. Do not react, anticipate. Then weaponize your silence, not out of cruelty, but strategy. You don't owe access to people who twist your openness into ammunition. Silence disrupts their rhythm. It forces them to confront the absence of your compliance. It reveals what's real when the usual games don't work. And then comes the final shift, emotional neutrality. This is the core of power. You don't need to expose people. You just need to stop being predictable. You let go of the need to win. You let go of the need to be liked. You let go of the story that says your worth depends on someone else's permission. Because your mental sovereignty is not negotiable anymore. It's earned. Every time you say no when it shakes, every time you stay quiet when they expect you to explain, every time you choose clarity over approval, this is how you reclaim your mind. And once you do, no one can take it again. So here's the final truth. If you don't control your thoughts, someone else will. It won't always be some master manipulator. Sometimes it'll be a childhood voice you never questioned. A cultural script you've mistaken for your own. A fear that keeps rewriting your choices without permission. Manipulation isn't just what others do to you. It's the lies you keep living because you're afraid of who you'll be without them. But here's the breakthrough. The moment you no longer need to be accepted, you become free. No more shrinking, no more dancing around guilt, no more begging to be seen by people who only love the version of you they can control. You don't owe them your peace. You don't owe them your silence. You only owe yourself your truth. So now the question is, will you go back to sleep and call it love? Or will you step into a reality where your mind belongs to you? Because manipulation ends the moment awareness begins. And if this video was that moment for you, don't let it be the last. Comment below. What moment in your life made you realize you were being controlled? Or are you still there, caught in the trap, trying to find the exit? Say it, write it, anchor the truth. Because speaking the truth, even quietly, is how you break the cycle. And if this resonated with you, the next video goes even further. We're not stopping at awareness. We're going all the way to self-mastery. Because the goal is not just to survive manipulation, it's to build a mind no one can bend. See you there.